you didn't get sick because you have a deficient in aspirin or antibiotic.
Yeah,
you didn't get sick because you have a deficiency in proton pump inhibitors. There is something going on that is causing the symptoms. Your body is expressing is a byproduct of something that went wrong in your physiology.
This is the Gold Medal Mindset, where we bring you all things winning in business, sport, and life. I'm Dr. Jason Richardson, pro BMX world champion and Pan Am Games gold medalist. Now I'm a professional speaker, author, and winning mindset coach. Thanks for joining in. Get ready to mine for gold as we challenge your perception to change your results. 3, 2, 1, we are back yet again on the Gold Medal Mindset podcast. And as you know, super excited to have this guest on the show, Dr. Jonathan Rojjanasrirat from Vegas. I don't know if he's from Vegas, but he's in Vegas, and he's in the sweltering heat right now. He's a professional chiropractor, has a podcast himself called The Wellness Cafe. We're going to get into the vision, mission, and dream of that. But before we do that, how you doing, Dr. John?
I am fantastic, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So I like what you're doing. I like the Wellness Cafe. I like your views on things. We were talking a bit earlier about your story and how you got into the game. But before we get into that, what's your deal? Why Vegas? Why chiropractic? Spill it.
All right. So just a little bit of a backstory, and I was born here, but I grew up in Thailand. So growing up in Thailand as a child, I was a sick kid, just always having to visit doctor's office every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks with sinus infections or some type of flu, whatever. I was always sick. And that became the norm. Like, if I don't go to the doctor for like 6 to 8 weeks, everybody thinks that there's something wrong. What's going on? Why is he not sick yet? And that was me growing up. And up until about, I think, 10 years old is when things start to change. And that's when I was introduced to natural healing solution. Because before that, it was all antibiotics, medications.
So if I could press pause.
Sure.
Pause real quick. So in Thailand, I'm going to be the ugly American and ask, how was the I guess Western medical model there in Thailand?
Growing up in the late 80s, 90s, it was very similar to here in the U.S. Doctors went to Western medical school, get trained with Western medicine, and prescribe Western medications. And that was the white coat pedestal too, because people or the public look up to doctors very, very highly.
Right.
Because
it's the gold standard, right?
It is, and because that's the educational system and the system over there too that make it that way. But that's not a story, because if you do really, really well in school, your parents, your teacher, your counselor expect you to go into medicine because of the college education system. That's how it's set up.
Okay.
But anyhow, kind of back to that. I was exposed to natural healing for the first time when my mom started to experiment and start giving me probiotics and also the bee pollens.
Okay. What made your mom start to experiment? She just got tired of taking you to the doctor and nothing was working, or?
Yeah, and exactly. It was a mixture of she changed career into selling supplements, and so she started to use it on herself, and she noticed huge improvement in her health and overall health expression. She wasn't getting the eczema that she was having on a regular basis, and now she was like, okay, well, if it works for me, would it work for my son? And it did. So that's when my life started to change in a positive direction. And that was the earliest moment for me with natural healing. So it was, when I was 10.
Right.
And kind of, yeah.
Yeah, so your mom got exposed to it just based on her new career. And she's taking these supplements and going, oh, wow. Not only am I a customer, I'm also an owner type thing. So she's noticing differences, and she's saying, hey, let me see if I can put some of this into practice with my son.
Right. I was the experimental child.
All children are a bit experimental, but that's a whole other podcast.
Right. I mean, and then I came here into the U.S. when I was 14 and was exposed to chiropractic because I didn't know what should I do. And my uncle, who I found out later, I knew he was some kind of doctor. He's a chiropractor, and he told me, hey, dude, why don't you just go check out the chiropractic college? It's right in Kansas City. It's called Cleveland Chiropractic. That's where I graduated. It's a great school. Go check it out. And I went really without having any prior knowledge of what chiropractic is or previous personal experience, because a lot of chiropractors became chiropractors because chiropractic or chiropractors have changed their life. And that wasn't the case for me at all.
So it was like you just kind of you didn't know what to do. You just it was almost as good as any other career at that point. Like it could have been, So if you had an uncle that said, "Hey, check out neuroscience or check out rocket science," you might have done that too, because you really were like,
"Yeah."
You were super open.
I was open, and also I wanted to go into either medicine or pharmacy.
Okay.
Which, and I'll have to take you back to this because I volunteered in the hospital as like a farm tech helper.
Okay.
So what I was doing was preparing not medications, but like syringes, gauze, and all these different things for different patients in the hospital. And I just didn't like the setting. I didn't like how it felt. I didn't like how it smelled. I didn't like the kind of the work environment in the hospital, and that kind of put an emphasis on me early on that, okay, well, this is probably not something I want to do.
It wasn't your jam.
Exactly. So, and here's another thing. Actually, it's a big thing too, because I want to be a doctor of medicine, but then what I saw was an abuse that was happening with medicine in this country. Right, every second ads is either Cialis or Viagra, or if you have this, ask your doctor if this is right for you. And I started to catch that early on in high school, and I was like, is this normal? Is this like legal? Can you just directly advertise to consumer like that? And turn out, I do a little more research and realize that, wow, in the United States we consume most of the world's opiates. We make many drugs, but we are the major consumption of opiates and all these different medications, antidepressants. We spend huge amount of money on it every single year, and we're not that healthy. So that was like a big elephant in the room where things didn't add up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So fast forward, I wanted to do something to help people, some sort of doctor that wasn't medicine. And then chiropractic was like an outlet. It was not like an attraction to chiropractic itself, but it was more like I was running away from medicine into something else.
Yes. Yes. So you still had this. Chiropractic allowed you to apply care, to put it, I guess, simply, and also not be part of this system that you were growing not too fond of, which was the medical model. or that portion of the medical model.
Right,
so,
that portion of it.
So I have to ask now. So where are you now? Right? Because you're an adult. You've been adulting for some time. You're in business. You're helping people in your practice. So where are you now with your feelings on Western medicine, on the medical model?
I mean, I am grateful for the medical model. My life was saved. Back when I had food poisoning, I was in the emergency room, and I was there for like 3-4 days. Almost died. Without great team of doctors and antibiotics, I probably didn't survive. But medical model is great when you have crises, right? So it's the go-to when you have a crisis care, like if you break your legs, if you come down with a bad infections. But that's what it is for, like a fireman. Medical model is not for wellness or health. It does not promote health because you are not sick because you have a deficient in aspirin or antibiotic, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
you didn't get sick because you have a deficiency in proton pump inhibitors. There is something going on that is causing the symptoms, whether it's, you start to react to different foods, allergies, or pain. Whatever your body is expressing is a byproduct of something that went wrong in your physiology. To figure out what caused the symptom in the first place. What happened in allopathic model or Western medicine, they look at you and they go, oh, Dr. J, you have gut problems. You have stomach pain. And now you have high blood pressure. Let's control that. Let's put a Band-Aid on that. Let's fix that. Meanwhile, they didn't ask the question, well, why do you have stomach ache in the first place? Is it because something that you've been eating that you didn't respond well? Why do you have high blood pressure? Is it because of the stress in your life? Maybe we should address that? No. Western medicine don't look at that. But what I'm trying to do is teach people on my podcast and inside my office to look at or to question like, hey, why is it that I have this problem? So when you start to ask the right question, that it leads you to more information to the right answers.
Okay. So as a psychologist, I love that you just said, ask the right question. And oddly enough, candidly enough, I don't find it easy to ask good questions, in my own opinion. But I do know that the whole thing about whether it's psychotherapy or coaching or whatever it is asking a question, right? That's the beginning of the pattern interrupt neurologically, right? So you ask the question, and for a person to answer intelligibly, right? They literally stop, think about it, form a sentence. So that's a pattern interrupt, and come up with some explanation. Now that explanation could be true, could be false, either one. But either way, the question is good. So I like that you said that. And what I've been learning lately is that you ultimately, a lot of solutions are only as good as the questions you're asking. So I always preach internal consistency, external consistency, which goes back to what you're talking about, which is this internal, physiological, possibly even cellular cause or root of an illness, and then it expresses itself externally, right? Allergies, gut issues, or what? Or I mean, I know gut issues are still internal, but you physically see it on the outside, right? Then having to go to the doctor and get some form of treatment, some form of medicine, some form of antibiotic, whatever.
Right,
so,
right.
Nice convo. I love this. So, okay, we were talking earlier, and you were explaining, because I was talking to you about cellular health, and I was telling you that I never understood when people would say inflammation, and I have allergies, and they're I would say they're seasonal, but they're definitely something to do with whatever air and is going on outside. But someone said to me, "Oh man, watch that inflammation." And I'm like, what exactly is inflamed? Like, I don't understand. I understand inflammation from, when I crash on a bike and I have a bruise, my ankle might be inflamed, or my shoulder or whatever that might be is inflamed. I understand that. But inflammation when I'm walking down the street and, the wind went from blowing west to east, and now I have a really bad allergic reaction, and I'm sneezing and my eyes are watering. What's inflamed?
Okay. That's a great question, because it's been thrown around like on the web. Like, people say this all the time. It almost becomes like a buzzword, but it's not, because it is the root cause of most chronic illnesses. So let's talk about two different types of inflammation first. Let's say you crash on a bike or you have a sports injury. That's an acute inflammation. Your body needs inflammation. Inflammation is a good thing, because what happened is it tells the body, hey, dude, something's broken here. Let's go ahead and help Dr. J out. Let's send white blood cells to fix it. So things start to swell up. That's where repair happens. If you don't have inflammation, let's say you are infected with a virus, then the virus will just overtake your system because you have no mechanism. It's almost like an army of soldiers to help protect yourself, your body, right? So that's inflammation. Acute inflammation. Acute inflammation could also be, let's say you have an infection. We were just talking about that. And the body sent the signal, hey, there's an inflammation. Let's send out more soldiers, more troops to fight these bad guys. Therefore, when you get sick, you have fever. That's when the body raises the temperature to fight off the pathogens. Now, let's talk about the chronic low-grade inflammation, because you don't have to have a cut or a bruise to get that. The low-grade chronic inflammation, it's on a cellular level. Let's say you eat a pizza, for example, and it goes through your digestive tract, and it's broken down into these. There's proteins called gluten in the pizza, and your body doesn't react well with gluten because gluten breaks down your gut wall. So let's talk about the gut wall real quick, because your gut wall is like this one thin layer of membrane, right? Mm-hmm. Think of it as a cheesecloth. So there's holes in it. Anything that's smaller than those holes can go through the cheesecloth. And the body is very smart. It wants to filter down to the very, very small things. It's like a exclusive party. Only certain people can get in that party, right? What happened when you eat gluten is it damaged that gut lining and it stretched out that cheesecloth. You see the picture? Yeah. So that hole gets bigger, right? And now things start to kind of leak through the guard into the blood. Okay? So now the blood is a very, very sensitive, highly controlled, highly looked at, highly monitored place. You don't want random stuff in your blood because it can cause problems, because it goes every single place in your body. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So the body then recognizes that, hey, there's an intruder in here. So let's send out some troops to fight off the intruder. Now your body starts to react to that, causing a low-grade inflammation. Your eyes might get a little puffy. You might be a little tired. Your stomach might be a little bloated because of that. And that's low-grade inflammation. And if you're not mindful, if you're not connected to the body, I mean, a lot of people are not. They don't really feel themselves. They're just overly stimulated, and they're totally disconnected to the body. then you don't really know, oh, the reason I'm feeling this way because I just ate that. And if that starts to go on for a longer period of time, it could cause a systemic chronic type problems in the gut or different areas of the body, because when your gut is damaged, it can cause an array of health problems, and usually start with the gut.
Wow.
So that's one form of chronic inflammation that I would give an example for.
Okay. So this is interesting because I'm thinking, I'm listening and I'm processing what you're saying, and I'm thinking, okay, I love gluten, by the way. However, but there are people who have habits, right? Whether it's drinking or smoking or whatever it may be. And I'm not talking like smoking a cigar once a month or once a week. I mean, like, they smoke, they drink, like that's what they do. And I've seen it. So I'm 43. Sometimes I'll go home to Vegas sometimes and run into some old friends, and I'll see that they look like their life might have been pretty rough, even though they have a great job, a great family, this, that, and the other. But, after you hang out with them for a little bit, you realize, oh, they probably, they smoke now. They drink regularly. They're not exercising that much. So I got to think that, this specifically with what we're putting into our body, that I don't know. So I'm going to butcher this, but it sounds like if these cells are constantly getting inflamed, right? The troops are running in and out all the time to kind of take care, repair, or at least get you somewhat living in, surviving. Does that speed up the aging process, or does that, how? Because you see pictures of people who, like, for an extreme example, you've seen pictures of people who do meth. It's an extreme example, right? But my point is, like, they literally are unrecognizable, right? After, and that's an extreme version of abuse. But I've seen pictures of even family members. I keep it real, even family members who you see a picture when they were in college, and then you look at them now and you're like, whoa, like, your nose went from being like real smooth and pointy to being like pudgy and dimpled, and like, how does that happen? Like, how you're still the same person. But to me, is that all part of this inflammation and mistreatment of the body and health and cells and all that? I don't know. Save me, Doc.
Yeah,
I'm going way beyond my scope of expertise.
No, but that the meth example is great because it's visual. Like, you can tell, you can see on a billboard, like a before and after. It's a great commercial to not want to do meth, right? You see the before and after very, very vividly what happened to the body. Mm-hmm. Inflammation just makes your cells age faster, and your cells your bodies are made of trillions of cells, whether it's brain cells, nerve cells, blood cells. Cells are like the individual in your body.
Got it.
And cells group together and make up organs. And organs make system, right? And that's you.
Right.
And if your cells aren't healthy, then your organs aren't going to be healthy, and you aren't going to be healthy.
There we go. Now, see, this is good. This is a good point to pause, because that is what people such as yourself, or even an acupuncturist, or a wellness practitioner, I'll say, for lack of a better term, that is cellular health. And I think that term is thrown out there, cellular health, along with the other term, the opposite, which is inflammation. And I think it's become somewhat ubiquitous in that, like, we say it like we know what it means, but I don't think we really know what it means, even though we might be using it correctly. But I mean, when you break it down like that, I mean, that's literally the definition of cellular health, right? So that
right, and
it's a building block of pretty much who we are.
Essentially. So if you focus on improving cellular health, then you'll be all right. I mean, things that improve cellular health are like antioxidants, right? Those are found plenty in berries, like blueberries, raspberries. All the berries has high in antioxidant. If you focus on spice like turmeric or ginger or garlic, those are really great because they have anti-inflammatory properties, right? So it's gonna repair your cells. There are many nutrients in there that help promote cellular health, right? And one of the things that I want to add is every single thing that you do either push you away from or toward health, because health is a spectrum. It's not an on and off switch. It's not like, oh, I'm healthy, and then what happened at 2 o'clock today, I went to the doctor, he measured my blood pressure, and now I have hypertension or high blood pressure. And now after 2 o'clock, I'm not healthy. No, it's not an on and off switch. If you don't have health, you're dead, right? So health is a spectrum. And every single thing you do either push you away from health or toward health.
Boom. That's a gold nugget right there. Okay. So now I have to ask you. So I'm sorry, I brought you on the show, and now I'm just picking your brain for selfish reasons, but that's okay because I think people are going to get a lot out of this. So there's all these diets, right? There's the paleo, there's the gluten, there's or gluten free, I should say. There's the we'll go. It started with Atkins, I think, from a mass, a general population awareness. What is there? Paleo, ketones, that's a big thing. Ketogenic, and then you have the Mediterranean. Anyways, so there's a bunch of vegan, veggie, pescatarian, whatever you want to call it. So you're a worldly guy. You've studied a lot. I'm guessing you were a good student. What? I've heard two theories. I've heard one, it's like not every diet is good for everyone, meaning like just I guess everybody is their own kind of system, and in that system there's things in that system that like certain things versus others, and then there's the other kind of another kind of frame of thought, we'll say, where it's like people are more dairy and meat and cheese are bad for humans, we're not supposed to eat X. So I guess, where are you just on that spectrum of food and kind of like optimal nutrition? I know it's kind of a big question, but if you were to pick a diet, what would you pick?
I love that question because it's so controversial, right? I mean, people fight. You see internet trolls calling people out over whether or not you're going to eat kale or bacon. And
food shaming. I'm going to eat kale with my bacon. How about that?
And you know what? I eat that all the time. It's such a great meal. Anyhow, to kind of go back to your question, and just to tell you the truth, in the beginning, start learning about all these different diets, I was hardcore. Like it's either paleo or you're dead to me. And as I study more and I practice more and I apply more, I think there are some things that are absolutely horrible for you that you should avoid at all costs. Those are low quality oil, like hydrogenated oil, trans fat, anything that's deep fried, omega-6 oil, which are like soybean oil, corn oil, grapeseed oil, seed oil, any type of canola oil, vegetable oil. Those are bad for your cellular health.
Okay.
And they're not supposed to be there in the first place. The reason it was there because the oil company wanted something with longer shelf life. That's back in like the 40s. And what happened is they start shaming saturated fat, lard, coconut oil, that it causes heart disease, which is not true, by the way. And that went on for about 60 years. That's why we still have canola oil with a American Heart Association sticker that says heart healthy on it, which is a lie. Like it is a lie, and it's still going on.
And it's actually kind of re-spurred, right? Like all of a sudden, like there's this attack, like just recently about how coconut oil is bad for you, and then what is it? There's a documentary out that's basically saying, nah, sugar's fine, and it's What the Health is the documentary. I'll be fair. So you make your own decision. So you're saying those are the absolute no's, right?
Yeah. So there's a few more things. Like sugar is bad for you. Like it's known that it causes insulin sensitivity, which is gonna lead to an array of health problems. It's gonna speed up your cellular aging, right? So your cells gonna be turning over more fast, more rapidly. So you only have so many rounds of cell turnover in your life before your cells can't divide anymore and you die. That's called the telomeres length. And you can also get that measured. You can go to teloyears.com and figure out where you are, where it's going to give you your biological age versus your chronological age.
What's that website again, if you could slow down?
It's called teloyears, TELOYEARS.com, I believe. Okay.
So that'll give you your biological age.
Yeah, and it's like $100 to test it. It's a pretty simple test. So,
so what are the
where was I?
So that's okay. So what are the absolute? So you gave some absolute no's, which is the the omega-6 oils, the corn oils, the vegetable oils, sugar. So what are the absolute? And when you say absolute no, I mean, because dude, like I like fried chicken and French fries. But anyways, but you're saying know what you're getting into. That's right. That's my way of justifying it. Know what you're getting into. But what are the absolute yeses, right? Like let's say you're normal American, normal human being. You don't want to be that person who goes to the party and just like you don't eat anything because your diet's so special. Like, what are the things that you want to add, right? So instead of taking stuff away, because that's like a big thing. Like I think that's where people get sensitive, right? Because it's like all these quote unquote experts tell people what they can't do, and people get really defensive, right? Just strip it away to human fundamental behavior. It's like, who are you to tell me I can't have my fill in the blank? So rather than say that, but what are the things that people can add, right? Because I've even played with it. It's like, okay, well, if I add more raw vegetables and fruits, will I be hungrier and want and crave other things? And I actually don't, right? If I add more X, I won't crave as much Y. That's just kind of how it worked for me personally that I noticed. But what can people add that would be like, you know what, no matter what you do, you should have this, this, and this. Give me a supplement and or just give me, just whatever. Go for it. Your show now. I'm done.
Cool. Well, no, that's a great question. It's a great point. And I always tell people too to add vitamins and minerals. Do the things that, on top of whatever you're doing now, you can be healthier and better off. So here's some things. Omega-3 fish oils, it's really helpful. It's a great anti-inflammatory oil. So 3,000 milligrams a day. That's what I do. Vitamin D. Vitamin D is critical for your health. It's so much of health is from getting enough vitamin D. And where do you get that naturally? In the sun. So if you spend about 15 to 20 minutes a day getting some sunlight, you're probably good. But even that little amount of time, many people are not getting enough vitamin D because you're in the house and then you go to work, you jump in a car, you get about 5 seconds. Then you get to work, you get about 10 more seconds and you're in the office, right? For like the entire day. Some people stay there until dark. So most people are deficient in vitamin D. I think, and don't quote me on this, on the Vitamin D Council website, it says something like 70% of Americans are deficient in vitamin D.
Wow.
And that, having vitamin D deficiency can lead to some thyroid issues, can lead to some fatigue, right? You just feel tired all the time, can lead to depression. That's why, there's so much suicides in like Alaska and Seattle.
Seasonal affective disorder, SAD, yeah.
Exactly. So because of part of it can be attributed to vitamin D deficiency. So vitamin D, I recommend 3,000 to 5,000 IUs a day, and that's really cheap. It's probably like $2 a month or something like that.
There you have
what else
it.
To add?
There you have it, listeners. Not every supplement is $40 a month. Vitamin D is vitamin D supplements. You can, for $2 a month, for just $2 a month, you could have all the vitamin D you want. You heard it here. I'm just playing. I'm just having fun with it.
No, that's true. Like, it's really not that expensive.
That's cool.
$2 a month, and
it costs a lot more. I live in Southern California. Let me tell you, the sun tax, we pay a pretty price here.
That's true. Good sleep, mindfulness type exercise is really critical as far as slowing down your stress level. It lowers your stress levels, and when you stress out, it's gonna age you faster, because you know why? Your body cannot distinguish the real tiger that's chasing you, or your mental tiger, or your boss shitting on you when you don't have that paper done. Like, your body responds the same way.
You're right.
So, yeah, those are a few things that
I like. That.
Exercise. Get your body moving.
Yeah, yes. So these are great things to add, and I think breaking it down into simple ways people can do it, because that's the other thing. I think people get overwhelmed when they have all this information coming at them. And let's just face it, some people just don't want to change their habits. But on the Gold Medal Mindset, we have people who want to really kick A in the world, and so they're willing to challenge their perspective to change the results. But it's really nice that we can spoon feed this information to people, and they can pick and choose what they want to implement and what they don't. And especially, and I love that idea of the spectrum, right? It's a spectrum. Moving toward better health or moving away from better health is kind of a better way of looking at it, because that's another thing. We get caught up in this black or white thinking that's like, cognitive behavioral therapy 101, where, we think like, oh my gosh, I had a Dorito, or I had, I had fried chicken at the cookout last week. Now, and then, but I see it. People beat themselves up over like a meal that, it's like, it's just one meal. Like, eat it, enjoy it, but that doesn't mean don't take care of yourself, right? And it also doesn't mean eat fried chicken and French fries every day. Right.
I mean, it's true. I mean, guilt is one of the most important factor why people fail in their transformation quest.
Yep. Guilt and shame. Yeah. That's like, we got to have Dr. Nima on the show too to talk about that. That's his area. But
he's great.
Yeah.
I mean, where we were at.
No, we were talking about food and guilt about eating it. So, and spoon feeding them great information so people can implement what they want. So, just a casual conversation amongst, health nerds. So,
and I think, yes.
Go ahead. No, ahead. I want to know. What do you think?
Well, I think that in order to have a sustainable change, you got to have realistic expectations. And just appreciate the journey, because a lot of people are interested in being healthy. They're interested in being fit, or having 6 packs, or eating 10 salads a week, but they're not committed. They just look at you. Oh, I want to look like Dr. J.
I didn't know anybody would look like me.
But then they don't want to do the work. So, and realizing there's entire process and just having fun, celebrating small wins, and also have accountability, right?
Yeah.
Somebody that you can go through the journey with, or a coach. I mean, and there's a explosion of health coaches in this country because doctors are not coaches. They can tell you exactly what you need to do, but then implementation, a lot of patients are just left on their own, and that's where there's a gap between information and implementation, and also the results.
Yep.
So,
and the mindset to it, because that's the other piece. So what I noticed is when I'm helping someone move from point A to point B, and they're experiencing growth and or change, the conversation in their head starts to change. And then also, too, the old pattern, whatever that pattern was of behavior or thinking, because it's a strong one, right? You've lived with it for years, possibly your whole life, starts to say, hey, what are you doing? We don't like this. Let's go back to what we know. So there's that other piece that I think people don't fully recognize is when you head out on a path to change, especially something with your health. It's like, look, I mean, I even talked about it in my book. Like, no one goes to bed, weighing 180 pounds and then wake up the next day bald, weighing 300 pounds. Like, that doesn't happen overnight. There's these incremental changes that happen over time, right? So I like that you're saying that there's a process, and that there's a journey, and like being immersed in the journey. I think Garrett J. White or even Dr. Ed Osborne talk about, instead of like knocking it out of the park, use a baseball metaphor or analogy, I can't remember, but using baseball as an example. Instead of knocking out a park, let's get on base, right? Instead of getting on base, let's just make contact with the ball and the bat. Those are steps toward making advancements. So I think it's really great that you recognize that. So we have some business to do here, man. We have I can go on talking about this stuff forever. I'm sure you can, but I want people to know about the Wellness Cafe, where to find you, what that's all about, and what they can get out of it, which is your podcast, the Wellness Cafe. And then,
cool.
And hold on, and before that, and then after that, there's the gold medal mindset, gold questions.
All right. Well, you can go to iTunes to check out the Wellness Cafe podcast. You go to drjohnr.com, or the website thewellness.cafe leads you to the same place. And what you'll find on there is basically I have a show as well, interview format, just like what we're doing here at GMM, interviewing different health professionals, health experts from around the world to talk about health in a more lax manner, instead of a hardcore, high-intensity health type of talk. It's more relaxed. The setting is more like in the cafe, which is you're just chilling and having a good conversation. And that's where I want to I think, engage people in the conversation that's not anybody can kind of come join. And the vision is to affect people outside of my office, to change 100 million lives through the Wellness Cafe podcast. It's a huge number, but you guys start somewhere, right?
It's a huge number, and it's possible. Because from what I hear, there's several billion people in the world, so really from a percentage standpoint, you're kind of aiming low.
I'm sorry, I need to go change that.
There we go. Well, cool. And I really want people to get on there and check out the Wellness Cafe podcast, as well as the Gold Medal Mindset podcast. So, as you know, I actually asked a couple of my questions because I was taking some notes. When we were talking, I was like supplements and food. But I'm going to ask you the one question which I ask everyone, which is, what's one thing you wish every human being knew? And I'll say on a cellular level.
Mm. On a cellular level, huh?
Well, I was just having fun, but I like that. It was like I've like, are we done recording yet? No, but yeah. What's one thing you wish every human being knew? It's a big question.
It is. I'm pulling it from my bank right now. Everyone should know that they are only as healthy as their cells.
Okay.
So take care of your cellular health, and based on the information that we talked about today, and do that 80% of the time, and you'll be all right.
Boom. There you go. Only as healthy as your cells, and follow the 80-20 rule. 80 for cellular health, 20 for all the other stuff. I'm guessing.
That's right.
All right. Well, cool. Is there anybody you want to shout out, thank, or anything you want to promote or push? You could do it here. You were gonna be in pharmaceuticals. You were gonna slang drugs anyway. So what do you want to slang right now?
I want to acknowledge you for doing what you do and having this great conversation and inspiring a bunch of people and listeners from around the world. And yeah, I really want to do that. And thank you for having me.
Oh, well, thanks, Dr. John. When I'm in Vegas, because my parents do live there and I went to high school there, so when I'm in Vegas, I will look you up and I'll probably get on the table and get snapped up if I can.
Perfect.
Cool. So
Hit me up.
We'll continue the conversation there, and we'll see if I can be a guest on the Wellness Cafe too. No pressure.
Absolutely. Let's make it happen.
All right, man. Take care. Thanks for taking the time to mine for gold on the Gold Medal Mindset podcast. Let's keep the conversation going on Twitter at RealDrJRich or on the web at drjasonrichardson.com. That's drjasonrichardson.com. Take care and have a great day. Gold Medal Mindset is brought to you courtesy of IPD Seminars, motivating the motivated with a 6-hour intensive training from leaders in business, sport, and life. Make an impact, live with purpose, and fulfill your destiny. Learn the mindset and best practices to crush any limit. Visit ipdseminars.com for more information.